Thomas's branch line is important, and so is Edward's. But their track and bridges are not so strong as those on the main line. So Topham Hatt does not allow the heavier main line engines like Gordon to run on them. But one day, the way Gordon was talking, you would have thought Sir Topham Hatt had given this order for quite another reason. "It's not fair," grumbled Gordon. "What isn't fair?" asked Edward. "Letting branch line diesels pull main line trains." "Never mind, Gordon. I'm sure Boko will let you pull his freight cars sometimes." Gordon spluttered. "I won't pull Boko's dirty cars. I won't run on branch lines." "Why not? It would be a nice change." "Sir Topham Hatt would never approve," huffed Gordon. "Branch lines are vulgar." Gordon puffed away. Edward chuckled and followed him to the station. Every evening, the two engines pull two fast trains from the station. Gordon always leaves first with an express for the main line. Edward follows 5 minutes later with his train for the branch line. Usually, everything runs like clockwork, but tonight there was
Thomas the tank engine had been working in the coal yards all day. The little blue engine was covered in coal dust. "We can't clean you up tonight, Thomas," said his driver. "There's a problem with the hose pipe." But
Duck, the Great Western engine, worked hard in the yard at the big station. Sometimes he pulled coaches. Sometimes he pushed freight cars, but whatever the work, Duck got the job done without fuss. One day, Duck was resting in the shed when Sir Topham Hatt arrived. "Your work in the yard has been good. Would you like to have a branch line for your own?"
"Yes, please,
Trevor the traction engine is old-fashioned, but he doesn't care. He knows that he is really useful, like his friend Edward, the blue engine. Early one morning, hundreds of people paid to come to the party. We've raised lots of money for the children. Edward was very pleased, and Trevor fell happily asleep, thinking of all the children who would now get to the seaside at last.
Edward strikes out. All the engines of Sodor are very happy to work on Sir Topham Hatt's railway.
He liked shunting. It was fun playing with freight cars. He liked shunting. It was fun playing with freight cars. He would come up quietly and give them a push. Then he would stop.
Oliver and his brake van Toad liked working in the big yards, but one morning Toad noticed that Oliver was unhappy. He decided to find out why. Excuse me, Mr. Oliver. It seems to me that things are not well with you. If you forgive me for mentioning it. You're quite right, Toad. All I do is shunt these freight cars onto the turntable. I long for a nice run. It's what an engine really needs. Cars hard. You silly engine, shouted a workman. It'll take a long time to repair this turntable, which will cause confusion and delay. Oliver, you have caused confusion. Sorry, sir. Oliver smiled.
One winter evening, Henry's driver said, "We'll be out early tomorrow. We've got to take the Flying Kipper." "Hooray!" cried Henry. "That will be
Oh, please.
Thomas the Tank Engine was feeling... My branch is the pride of the line, wouldn't you agree? Yes. But what, Percy? Well, there is another engine with a... Where?
Next morning, Bill and Ben peeped into the yard. There were no cars for them, but they didn't mind that. Teasing Gordon would be much better fun. Donald and Douglas are twins and had arrived from Scotland to help Sir Topham Hatt, but only one engine had been expected. The twins meant well, but did cause confusion. Sir Topham Hatt had given them numbers, Donald 9 and Douglas 10, but he was still planning to send one engine home. Snow came early to the island of Sodor. It was heavier than usual. Most engines hate snow. Donald and Douglas were used to it. Percy decided to talk to Edward about it. "What you need," said Edward, "is a..." Snow came early to the island of Sodor. Percy ran back quickly. "Edward says we need a..." Snow came early to the island of Sodor. "Boko, my dear engine, save me!"
Duncan would not stop grumbling. He grumbled that he wasn't polished enough.
One day, Edward was talking to Trevor when Douglas steamed by. He was pulling a train of heavy coal cars. "Come on, Edward. Stop gossiping in the sun when there's a Douglas. Trevor and I are old friends, and you and he have a lot in common, too." "We do?" quizzed Douglas. "And what would that be?" "Scrap," said Edward quietly. We're busy for the rest of the day, and
In summer, the island of Sodor gleams in the sun, and every station is filled with flowers. Percy had been working at the docks all day and was tired of the smell of... "Please, sir." "Sorry. My favorite station is Farquhar," said Thomas. "Mine is Maithwaite," said Toby. "Percy, what's yours?" Percy was too tired to think properly. "Ha!" sniffed Thomas. "We can tell."
Toby and Henrietta were enjoying their new job on the island of Sodor. "James, I am a splendid..." "Oh." Something sticky splashed all over James.
One morning, Percy was impatient. He was wearing a new coat of paint and longed for everyone to see it. The other engines were still dozing, but not Percy. "Driver should be here by now. What's he doing?"
"Sleeping,"
grunted Gordon.
"but that means I'll be late. The coaches will be waiting, and the passengers will get cross." "Rubbish," huffed Henry. "It's still early," added James. "You just want to show off." "No, I don't.
Never mind, Percy, said Thomas. It'll soon be time for work. But be careful, or you might run into danger, and Duke is not here to save you. Duke? Stuttered Toby. You mean our hero? A large painting of Duke hung in the engine shed. The very same, said Thomas. Driver told me the story. Listen. And this is the story.
Huh. Oliver had been to the works to be mended. Some troublesome cars tricked him, and the Great Western engine fell into the turntable well. Now Oliver was as good as new, but he was still worried about cars. I'd rather not use them, he puffed to himself.
Aye. One day, Percy arrived at the quarry to collect some stone for his freight cars. Snow and frost lay everywhere. There was not a sound to be heard. Percy ventured further. He found Mavis, the new diesel engine, resting in the shelter of some rocks. Gordon was cross. "Why should Henry have a new shape?" he grumbled. "A shape good enough for me is good enough for him. He goes gallivanting off, leaving us to do his work, and comes back saying how happy he feels. It's disgraceful."
When he returned, he spoke to Oliver. "You have found another attraction for our island. We'll make this house as good as new, and visitors can have tea and crumpets there." Sighed Oliver. "Getting lost can be interesting, but being found is much nicer, especially when it makes an engine feel really useful."
Trevor. Yes. Workmen coupled Trevor's car to Thomas's train, and soon they were ready to start.
Important passenger arrived just as you left. He ordered a special train, and Duck let me take it. We had a splendid run, but I'm ashamed of you, Duncan, said Skarloey. Thank goodness Rheneas is coming home soon. I'm ashamed of you, Duncan, said Skarloey. Rheneas to do with me? Rheneas saved... Please, tell us about...
Now, who's along the main